Hello and welcome to the first ever podcast, Healthy Conversations with Jade. I am your host, Jade, and I am so excited to bring you this podcast. It is exactly what it says. It is going to be lots of healthy conversations with myself, but also with special guests to really help you boost your confidence, boost your health, and help you understand your body in more detail and depth. This first episode is going to be a little bit about myself and my journey along the way as to why I am here and why I am doing what I'm doing and helping women to learn and understand their bodies just like I have. So the big trigger for me was, of course, childbirth and having my baby, which I know so many mamas out there can totally relate that. Yes, it is such a massive change and shift for us as females, and not only mentally but physically on your body. And you know what, you're becoming a whole new woman, female, a whole new person, and you are producing this little tiny person that's going to be very reliant on you for pretty much the rest of their lives. So it is exciting, it is overwhelming, it's fun, it's scary, all in one. So basically, the big thing that happened to me with my pregnancy was I guess I went into the pregnancy feeling pretty good. Like, I was excited. Thankfully, pregnancy happened super easily for us, and I guess I probably mentally found the biggest thing challenging was seeing my body change and seeing how I went from having not really much change in weight for a long period of time to seeing my belly grow, your boobs grow, your body just change. And for me, that was scary. And I knew that I was growing something inside of me, my beautiful little daughter, which was amazing, but it was daunting to see. And I did put on a lot of weight during my pregnancy. I ended up putting on 30 kilos, and I felt like it all kind of just stacked on those last 10 weeks. I really went from kind of feeling pretty good, and then all of a sudden, bang. And I don't know if any of you can relate to that, but that's exactly what happened to me. So during my, after I had my daughter, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is a autoimmune condition that affects your thyroid. And it was very overwhelming for me at first to kind of like hear that and not really know what it was or understand what it meant. But it probably explained a lot of the symptoms that I was feeling that, this was probably like 18 months, 2 years post having Imogen. So it wasn't like I was like 3 months out and, you're still tired, you're still exhausted. I was still kind of like, why am I still feeling like this? Like, I'm getting a good night of sleep. I'm functioning like a human being now. I'm not breastfeeding or bottle feeding or doing all those crazy things that in the first, 6 to 12 months, you're really getting used to. I was past that process, but I was still having these symptoms. My periods were not happy periods. I would get a lot of PMS. I would start to really feel I would feel like a heavy cycle, heavy bleeds. I would have lots of pain, lots of bloating, lots of pre-period symptoms. And I kind of was like, well, this is what it feels like, because prior to that, I was on the pill for a really long time. And so I went from being on the pill to having a few periods, getting pregnant, and obviously not having a period when you're pregnant. And then after that, kind of like smack bang, I never went on any, and I'm still not on any contraception now. So there was kind of like that time where I just sort of thought that was my body. And then I was also in the process of trying to lose weight as well. And I just found it really felt like I was so resistant. And I guess I I'm still on my process of understanding my body in more depth, but I have so much more understanding and appreciation of what my body's doing every month. And so the way that I look at my body and the way that I look at nourishing, supporting, and even health, health and fitness, and even the space of like weight loss, I look at it from such a different perspective now. And back when I was, pre-baby, I was probably a lot very judgmental on my body, and I was exercising for a calorie deficit. I was exercising to just completely exhaust my body. I wasn't exercising for mental health. I wasn't exercising for a strong, fit, healthy person. I was exercising, in that mindset of almost like depletion. Like I was not doing it in the right headspace. So going into my so I was kind of like getting this diagnosis. I knew something was up, but I kind of couldn't figure it out. And I was like very overwhelmed with it at first, and I started to research and find out more info, but I didn't really get what I was looking for. So that prompted me to actually go and do some extra study. And that's where I started to stumble across learning more about the hormones and the cycle in the female body. And I opened up a little boot camp in my garage at that stage. I did have a corporate job, but I was made redundant 6 weeks after going back to that. So that was a big shock because, of course, I was excited to get back to it, but I did absolutely loved the job. But it was a shock being made redundant, but in the same sense, it was absolutely a blessing in disguise because it prompted me to give me more space to, one, spend with my daughter and just be a mum, and two, start to investigate my body, really start to look after myself and start to be like, just study and learn more and I guess start a business, which I didn't really know where I was kind of going with it. So I basically just started a boot camp from my garage, and it didn't have anything really to do with cycles at that point. It was just boot camp personal training. In that process, I started to study health nutrition coaching, and I started to hear like language, and I just started to pick up on how women were feeling about their periods and their cycles, and how they were feeling when they were exercising and they can't go to the gym for nearly 2 weeks out of the month, and because they were so exhausted, they were having that period wipeout. They were just they weren't feeling themselves. So what I did was I started to investigate this for myself as well, because I had started to like put some of this cycle syncing info that I was learning and the courses I was doing about thyroid and hormones and nutrition, and I started to put it all into practice. But it was very hard to gather the information and put it into a easy to understand type of scenario. So it was like I found it really confusing to learn. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, or if you maybe seen maybe you're a member, maybe you've seen some of my posts and things like that, you might have you might see that I try to teach you about your cycle, but in a really simple way. So in the past, when I've done been on podcasts for other people's podcasts, I've made your hormones like your besties, and I've talked about it like that, which I will probably in episodes to come talk more about that. But today I'm just sharing my story, my background. So I was in this process of doing my boot camp and doing some personal training. I was helping women. I always love working with women. I don't like working with men. I'm more focused on the female body and how that works. So I went and was listening to all this language that women were saying. They can't do this, they can't do that on their period. They get this, and probably in the past I would have been like, get over it, just come to the gym and like suck it up, which I feel like is probably maybe potentially a lot of what a lot of people would say and what a lot of people would feel. But for a female who's been through bad periods and heavy periods and pain and like, you know, moodiness and tired, like, you know, tiredness, extreme tiredness, and, you know, lack of motivation, unable to lose weight, a lack of confidence, you know, like someone just saying to suck it up and keep going can actually feel like it's just like you can't step into someone else's shoes and know how they feel. So I was kind of like trying hard to be empathetic to the women that was saying this, but the same sense I was like, you know, you can do this. And so it was kind of, I felt like it was going against what my like internal kind of naturally what I was feeling, because I was like, no, I know I feel this too, but I don't know how to put it into and a better help you understand how we can do this differently. And I guess that's when the Beautiful Body Society, and soon to be the Get Synced app, was starting to develop, is because I was like, right, I need to start to teach women about their bodies, and especially how to exercise and how to, you know, like live their lifestyle so it's in sync with their cycle. So that's what I've been doing ever since. So like, you know, fast forward, it'll be 3 years in November. That is my business, and that's what I do. I help women understand their bodies, their cycles, in more depth. And it's there's a couple of different things that we do. There's different ways that you can work with me and my coaches, and that is by 1, coming to the studio if you live by. 2, you can work online and you can get all of our workouts, all of the information online. Or 3, you can do a one-on-one program with me and with one of my coaches. So there's so that's what we do. So we help women, and I help women, and it's really exciting to say this because I guess from my own overwhelming feeling of like helplessness and not getting answers, or I guess the biggest thing is when I would see a practitioner and I would be left alone for 6 to 8 weeks and then have to go see them again, and I would be so anxious. Am I doing the right things? You know, is this right? Or a hiccup would come, or I'd fall off the wagon, and I was always put on like strict food, you know, like strict eating plans, and it would just give me a lot more anxiety, and also would create more of this like binge, help be too restrictive and then binge eat, because I would try to be restrictive instead of being like, you know, balanced. And then I would go back and see the practitioner hoping for like this amazing result. But I knew long term I couldn't actually stick with that, you know, that protocol, because it was not right. So I guess over time, like I've really started to understand my body and recognize what to do, so I can start to take control of all of the tiny I understand when my body's having a symptom. I know like what's happening. So in the Beautiful Body Society and the Get Synced app, we talk about tracking and like tracking your symptoms and understanding your symptoms, so you can utilize your period and your cycle, or your period phase of your cycle, as a report card for the rest of the month. And that's what I do. So every time when I get my period, I write it down. I'm so used to like writing in a journal, but with the app you can write it all in your phone. But you can basically now you track that, and then you need to look at the month that you've had and basically how your period is, and utilize that, take that as an advantage of how you can basically do better for the next month, experience a better cycle, experience a better period for the next month. And that's what that's basically the one-on-one program is very in-depth in learning about that. I also do a couple of other bits and pieces like DNA analysis, and look at the body's physiology as well. So there's a couple of things that can be done to I guess understand your symptoms in more depth, and we do this in the one-on-one program. But yeah, so anyway, I guess in a nutshell, like that's kind of my journey from like just trying to work out what the bloody hell was happening to me, and why was this information, like trying to find this information, nearly 3 years ago, there was just like zero about it. And then reproducing the information in a way that is so simple that you can just click for you, and you can really start to use the Beautiful Body Society and the Get Synced methods in your own life, so you can experience better periods. You can really tap into each phase of your cycle and understand that in like such a more in-depth way, and really, instead of hating your month and your cycle and like wishing you're a boy or whatever, because boys only have a 24-hour cycle, men only have like a 24-hour cycle, you can now be like, no, this is actually really powerful. This is the stuff that can really change the course of your month and your life. So that's just a little intro into myself. And as I said, like my passion, my drive is to just help women feel amazing, help women understand their bodies, help women just tap into the goodness that women have. We are hormonal. So women's like, oh, I'm so hormonal. Well, of course you are. You're a female. You're hormonal. That's what our bodies do. So let's start to just, understand our bodies as they are and be hormonal, but celebrate those hormones and celebrate the week to week changes that we have as the female body. So some of these conversations are going to be longer, some of them are going to be shorter, but I'd love to know, if you want to give me feedback as to any topics you'd love to learn, or, obviously I don't know everything, so I'm going to bring some experts on to help with different fields of info. And yeah, so like let's really start to celebrate being the hormonal woman that we are, tapping into these different phases, and just enjoy them and not have to have that feeling of exhaustion and not looking forward to the pre-period phase, because once you learn about the magic of the hormones and what they do, you will hopefully start to have a completely different outlook on your body as well. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure that you do all the things. Help me out by subscribing, writing a review, as you probably heard on 1,000 other podcasts. But yeah, I really appreciate that, and I really hope that if you need help, this information helps you, or if you want to learn more about your cycle, you reach out and you maybe do our program or jump on to our app or studio. So have an amazing day, and I'm going to leave you with one question. Where are you at your cycle right now? Do you know off the top of your head? And if not, maybe it's time to find out. So I'll see you next week. Bye.